Hi, my friends. This is Diana Rankin coming to you with another weekly soul messages and perhaps a prediction or two. This is for the week of March the 12th to the 18th. And where I am here in the States in central Ohio, it's a bit chilly today. It was like in the 50s, in the high 50s yesterday, and today it's like going down into being like 15 or something, and I woke up with some snow on the ground. So want to warm up in those hot sweaters, those warm sweaters to get a little heat and stay warm here. All right, let's see what we have for you this week. Well, the word that's coming up is shadow, and we're going to talk about that, but I just want to remind you that spring equinox will be coming up next week. And so spring equinox is a time of new beginnings. And so that doesn't surprise me that shadow is coming up this week, because before we can really have those beautiful new beginnings, we have to deal with all that's in our shadow. What happens if we don't deal with that shadow? Well, we've all know or have met people that are always, oh, everything is just perfect, perfect, perfect. Everything is just so sunshiny and wonderful and perfect. And believe me, I am one of the most positive people there is. I will always look for the sunny side. However, if we do not deal with our own shadow, what happens is there's a shadow in the world. Our own thoughts, what we live with within ourselves, is what's projected out into the world. And we lose our own depth, by the way, if we're only dealing with sunshine and not shadow. Think about nature. Think about where you really see the depth of the sun is when you're seeing that play of the sun and the shadow. And it's that beautiful play. Now, most of us would prefer standing in the sunshine. I certainly would, and I love it that the sun is out today. It just makes it feel warmer, even though the temperatures are much lower than they were yesterday. The sun is shining, and that feels good to me. I think that does to most of us. Not everyone, certainly, but I think for most of us. But if there's no shadow out there, then we won't see that depth of the play between the two. And if we don't see the shadow in nature, we don't see the shadow in ourselves. If we don't see the shadow in ourselves, we don't see the shadow in our world. So let's take that a little bit deeper. What happens when we deny our own shadow? I'm not a psychologist, you know that. I'm a psychic medium, a writer, an intuitive coach. What happens when we deny our own shadow? A couple of things I've seen happen over the years. One, I've seen people become passive aggressive or be passive aggressive. Passive aggressive to me seems to come from a lack of self-love, not realizing that how beautiful we are, not realizing the truth of what we are, and the truth of what we are, my friends, is just pure love. That's who we are. We're pure love. That's our spiritual self. We express that spiritual self through our human self or not. And when we're not expressing that spiritual self through our human self, we get all mixed up in things like being passive aggressive. What do I mean by that? Well, the old story about the spouse who didn't put the toothpaste cap on right or squeeze the toothpaste tube right, and you got angry with that spouse. It's not about the toothpaste. There's something else going on deeper here. I've had people tell me, well, I don't want you to have to do this, or I don't want you to have to do that. That's not your decision, that's my decision. When I hear people saying that, or when I hear people telling me how to live my life, I recognize they're not in touch with their own life. They're not in touch with the shadow self. And we all have that shadow. And what happens in addition to being passive aggressive? Well, we may go into a deep depression. Something may happen in our lives that changes, and that can send us into a deep depression that's harder to come out of, because again, it's very hard if we're not dealing with a shadow to even admit we have one. And if we can't admit we have a shadow, then we're not admitting our humanness. We're not admitting our whole self. There is pain in this world. There is terrible anguish in this world. We can't deny that. And when we deny our own shadow, we're also denying the pain that's in the world. We're denying that there is discomfort, that there is pain, that there is anguish. We're denying, and we're putting it over there, and we're saying, well, if you just live your life this way, it'll be okay. Oh, we're not here to tell each other how to live our lives. We are here to help our brothers and sisters, to help each other, to help ourselves love ourselves a little more deeply. And if we love ourselves more deeply, we're then able to see that shadow and accept it. It's part of who we are. And then as we accept our shadow in ourselves, we are then able to start healing the world at a whole new level, because we're not living in denial. We're actually living in a very fulfilling, loving place and living out our greatest life. So this week, you are going to have plenty, and this is my big prediction. Each of us will have ample opportunities to take a look at our shadow. Do not deny it. Embrace. It's part of who you are. And as you embrace, you'll be able to walk through to the other side. And that other side is love. It's the only way we're going to change things, is through love. That said, this is going to be a week of turmoil politically in the U.S., and that is affecting the world, and will continue to do so. There will be some massive upheavals, I think, in the U.S. this week, politically. And the infighting isn't going to stop. That's going to continue for quite a while. More and more people are looking to, it's like we're looking outside of ourselves for the answers. And this week, it is very, very important that you turn inwardly and look for the answers inwardly. That's not to say don't reach out for help. Absolutely reach out for help to help you figure out what's going on. But it is, instead of asking for there to be a big papa that comes and rescues you, no. You're the only one who can rescue you. Yes, you can do that with help. And as we learn that, we will then learn that we are our brothers and sisters' keepers. Again, that doesn't mean that we want that they must do it our way. No, it's about we must help each other. And as we help each other, we ourselves grow into greater greatness. How about that one? Greater greatness. Okay. Weather-wise, nothing's going to change here. Stock market, I'm still seeing probably a rise, but I'm very nervous about it because it's going to crash, and it's going to crash hard. I don't think that's going to be this week, but I would just be very careful if you're in the stock market. Make sure you're really on top of it. I mean, really on top of it. We are seeing some major changes politically. I think I just mentioned that. And we're going to see that on a worldwide basis. There are going to be some other things happening that we didn't see coming, and yet at the same time, they were right in front of us. I'm going to take a look and see what Philip has to say for us. You know, I like to use Philip's book, the Master's Book of Answers. Philip is my spirit guide. And we have to think left or right page, because every page has its own different answer on it. So now's the time for you to think left or right as my thumb goes flipping through here, and my thumb will just stop at a page. We need to stop that, and there it stopped. Okay, did you get your left or right? Okay, good. I'm thinking, gosh, I'm getting left and right. I'm getting left a little bit stronger. So if you were confused, So was I. So I'm going to read both, but I'm going to start with the left. We are all only beginning to understand. Oh, my friends, that is so true. We are all only beginning to understand. You know, I've reached a certain age, and I love to brag about it. And I do it publicly in when I speak in person. Um, but on November 11th last year, I turned 71. And I've been very, very blessed in my life. People say, well, how do you keep your skin so nice? And I say, well, I can use a good moisturizer. But it's because I meditate a lot. And I'm in the energy a lot. I'm fortunate enough. Every time I do a private reading, I'm in the energy. And so that keeps the wrinkles down in the skin young, but I also have good genes. So I'm very, very blessed there. So that said, what does that have to do with what I just read, that we are only beginning to understand? I've reached that age where you would think I would know something. And here's what I know. The more I know, the more I know how little I know. That I know nothing compared to what there is to know. So we all think we have the answers. And what I want you to know is we may have this much, and it is this much. So we are all only beginning to understand, my friends, and how marvelous the journey is. Don't make it be what it's not. Let's see what the right side said. This is good for us this week too. Where peace lives, there can be no conflict. Where peace lives, there can be no conflict. Well, my friends, make friends with your shadow so we can have less of a shadow in the world, or we can at least be honest about what's going on, and then we can truly live in our integrity. This is Diana Rankin saying thank you so much for being here with me today. Live with love. Love is the best part of life, and that's the truth of who we are. I love you. I love each and every one of you. I love you. Thank you for accepting that love. Thank you for loving me. Until next week.